What's up, y'all? It's your boy Jason here with the Cow Park Bros. And of course, on behalf of my fellow host, Terrence, I just want to come to you and kind of say thank you for listening to us for all this time. And can you believe it's been almost 1 year, the Cow Park Bros? Yes. Our anniversary episode is coming up very fast. It'll be in April. So, again, thank you for all that time. Thank you for listening. And in fact, for our anniversary show, we want to hear from you. We want to hear from you. We want to hear messages from you, whether it be go to our website, send us an actual voice message, or going to our voicemail, sending it that way, or just sending us a message on social media. We want to hear from you. We want to know what your favorite part of the Cowpart Bros is, what you've enjoyed the most, what you haven't enjoyed, what you love the most, favorite segments, favorite moments, whatever it may be. We just want to hear from you. And whatever we receive, we're going to incorporate that into our anniversary episode and just enjoy the fact that, again, 1 year almost of the Cal Park Bros. And that wouldn't happen because of you guys. So thank you very much. And again, we want to hear from you. So again, make sure you go to calpartbros.com, click on the message little button there. That'll give you the option to send us a voice message, which we can play on the show. Or you can go to 405-877-BROS. Call us there, leave a voice message there as well. Again, also want to use that for the show. And again, also, if you want to hit us up on social media or send us an email to calpartbros@gmail.com, we'll take it that way as well. But make sure you get on that and do that so we can get that done. We can hear your voice. We want to hear from you. All right. But always don't forget, when it comes to the Cal Park Bros, make sure you like us, love us, share us, and follow us. Because if you like us, why wouldn't you?
Welcome to the Cow Park Bros podcast. I'm your host, Terrence, and with me is my co-host, Jason, calling in from the Batcave in Indianapolis. Jason, how are you, my good man?
Hey, man, I'm good. You know what it is. It's another Tuesday. Ready to get this started. Got 3 more topics to talk about. 3 good topics, 3 important ones. Let's get into it.
Thank you for listening. This is episode 42 of the Cow Park Bros podcast. Funny and initiated, Cow Park Bros is the podcast to hear. We are a weekly podcast for fans of culture, current events, sports, life, and entertainment.
And as always, we are your hosts, Terrence and Jason, and every single Thursday, we bring you our brand new episode where we discuss the current events of the day, sports, and the athletes we love.
And even some of the athletes we loathe. No matter the topic, you can expect a brutally honest and fun exchange of snark while learning through the lens of our 30 years of friendship that originated in Calumet Park, Illinois.
And folks, for more Cal Park Bros content, make sure you connect with us on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, YouTube, for more behind the scenes of the Cal Park Bros show, and just to engage with us every single day. But importantly, don't forget that the Cal Park Bros podcast is available to listen and subscribe for free wherever you listen to podcasts.
Like us, love us, share us, follow us. And folks, if you like us, hell, why wouldn't you?
That's right. Like Terrence said earlier, we are the podcast to hear. Excuse me. We are the podcast to hear and watch. So make sure you live it, love it, and do it.
All right. Coming up in the first segment, we're going to be talking about another Spotify standoff. Jason, I know literally an episode or two ago, we were discussing the petition by about 250 individuals within the medical community, healthcare professionals, were effectively asking Joe Rogan, basically asking Spotify to kind of manage some of the information that was coming out of the Joe Rogan experience. And now here we are, no less than 2 weeks later, where there's been some fallout from the non-response. So, and I'm referencing an article from AP by Jake Coyle. Joe Rogan responds to Spotify protests, COVID advisories. In an article, following protests that Spotify kicked off by Neil Young over the spread of COVID-19 vaccine misinformation, the music streaming service said it will add content advisories before podcasts discussing the virus. In a post Sunday, Spotify chief executive Daniel Ek laid out more transparent platform rules, given the backlash stirred by Young, who on Wednesday had his music removed by Spotify after the tech giant declined to get rid of episodes of the Joe Rogan Experience, which has been criticized for spreading virus misinformation. Ek continued, personally, there are plenty of individuals and views on Spotify that I disagree with strongly, wrote Ek. It is important to me that we don't take on the position of being content censor while also making sure there are rules in place and consequences for those who violate them. X said that the advisories will link to Spotify's fact based COVID-19 hub and what he described as a new effort to combat misinformation. It will roll out in the coming days, X said. He did not specifically reference Rogan or Young. Now, of course, Joe Rogan responded to the fallout on Sunday, saying in a video on Instagram that he was only seeking to have conversation on his podcast with people who have differing opinions. Rogan was quoted as saying, "I'm not trying to promote misinformation. I'm not trying to be controversial. I've never tried to do anything with this podcast other than just talk to people." He also said he schedules the guests on the podcast himself, and that he would try and book doctors with different opinions right after he talks to the controversial ones, quote unquote. Rogan noted that earlier he sat down on the show with Dr. Sanjay Gupta, name dropper, chief medical correspondent for CNN, and Dr. Mike Osterholm, who was a member of President Biden's COVID-19 advisory board, and Dr. Peter Hotez from Baylor College of Medicine. So, Jason, what are your thoughts on how this played out so far? Did you think that people are going to start pulling music and pulling podcasts, basically putting the full court press on Spotify, man? What are your thoughts so far? How this has played out?
I mean, am I surprised that certain artists and whatnot were wanting to, you know, pull their music and whatnot and content from Spotify over this? No, not surprised at all. Um, I mean, you call it woke culture or whatever, and now I'm not sure if this really falls into that, you know, type of thing, as noted by Joe Rogan previously on another topic we had episodes ago about Joe Rogan. Um, but no, I'm not surprised by this. Probably a little surprised with the artists in particular who are doing it. Neil Young, um, and I can't remember her last name, but a lady named Joni. Um, but um, but yeah, this is what it is. I mean, obviously, like we said, always say, Joe Rogan has a huge following. He's Spotify's number one podcast when it comes to listens. So whenever this was out in the media, last week or so when we talked about it, a couple episodes ago, of course, other people are going to see this stuff. They're going to have an opinion on it. They're going to use their own influence to try to make Spotify even take a stance on this. Because at the point when we talked about this before, Spotify hadn't said anything regarding this, and at that point, it was like 7 days, 6 or 7 days after that letter went out to them, and they hadn't said nothing at the time. So oftentimes, when you're have this eye on you and you let things fester without saying anything, it's probably going to encourage some people to take their own action. And in this case, Neil Young and others, Joni Mitchell, excuse me, take action for this. Now, when it comes to what Spotify has said or done, it says that they created like a advisory hub for episodes where people listeners can go to get factual COVID information. And I've actually kind of gone to this to kind of see what exactly it was. And sure enough, if you go to open.spotify.com, you'll see that there. And their little COVID-19 guide or hub, they'll have a lot of different podcast shows and episodes, and all of them you can tell just even from the title are all basically COVID related somehow, whether it be about vaccine, COVID information, even mandate information as well when it comes to whatever Biden was pushing out there before. So I give them that; they're putting that out there. But I guess my question is how they say they're going to kind of put a link to these in any episode in which somebody's talking about COVID. So, like I mentioned to you the other day, how are they going to find these episodes that talk about COVID stuff? I mean, because you and I on our show, we're on Spotify, and you and I have talked about COVID stuff before, obviously. So, other than us hashtagging COVID in our episode listing or having it in our title, how is anybody going to know that we're talking about COVID? And then also, I kind of doubt. I mean, I could be wrong, but I kind of doubt COVID's going to have individuals looking for specifically for episodes that actually have COVID in it. I mean, unless your podcast is something specifically talking about COVID stuff and that's it, which obviously we are not. So is somebody from Spotify going to find our episodes we talk about it to make sure we're providing information correctly, or are they going to, or just to add the link to us? I don't know. So I applaud them for finally saying something and making an attempt to do something. Now, I'm not going to say this what they did so far isn't a good thing or not, but I just wonder, is it good enough?
You listen. you really don't want to get into the business of banning episodes and shit.
Well, they done it.
And the
They've
problem
done it
is,
before, so
right, but the problem is you're not doing it with the $100 million man.
now you got to the point. The money. They don't want to mess up the money.
And the thing is, if you just purge all of his episodes, then are we actually solving the problem?
Well, it's not even all of his episodes though, because even Rogan said in that video it's really only one or two episodes they're talking about. So even if they just took those two away, if they did it, and I'm not encouraging them to do so, but even if they did take away those two, I mean he's done over 50, like what was it, 17 or well more than 1,700 episodes. So if you took away two, they're not losing that much money. But would it cause a problem between them and Joe Rogan? Probably not, because Joe Rogan's still making millions of bucks on it. So I'd imagine he'd get over it. He's still, like I said, he still books all the guests. He still creates the content for a show. No one's changing that. It's just Spotify still has control over what they put on their platform. And this isn't exclusive to Joe Rogan, obviously. This applies to anybody spreading misinformation on Spotify or any other medium. It's just Joe Rogan's in the news again because he's the one that has 11 million listeners per episode. So
Yeah, I here's what I think. I think Spotify. The reality is there was too many eyes on this, and doing nothing obviously wasn't going to satiate anybody, right? There's too many people both within the medical community and also outside the medical community just tired in general of misinformation fuckery and people thinking that they can just say whatever and not have to actually back it up um with some and listen, I think I think Joe Rogan knows he probably needs some more legitimate voices on that show. Otherwise, he wouldn't be name dropping guys like Dr. Sanjay Gupta. Like, if you've already had somebody that's already been banned from Twitter on your podcast because they were giving out, it's like Robert Kennedy, for example, completely fucking banned because of off the wall conspiracy theories about COVID. So you might need a little bit more than Sanjay Gupta showing up. You might need to even that out a little because you've been kind of, sponsoring this crazy, um, what for many people would consider to be far too long.
So yeah, I'm not going to disagree with that. I actually took a quick second, not a quick second. It was the video that Joe Rogan posted was like 9 minutes long. I didn't listen to it because I wanted to actually hear his voice saying the stuff as opposed to just listening or rather reading it written down. And I wanted to see what Dwayne Johnson, The Rock, was co-signing when it comes to whatever Joe said. So we'll get to that in a minute too. But yeah, Joe did acknowledge the fact that he, at least recently, he has tried to have other viewpoints on the COVID stuff on his show when it comes to, like you said, Sanjay Gupta. They mentioned somebody else whose name I forget to go against the other two individuals he had on the show where people felt like he was helping spread misinformation. And also, I would kind of question Joe a little bit, not saying he's wrong or he's lying, but I'll also question Joe when he says that he tries to have different viewpoints on his show. Is he talking about different viewpoints from himself and his thinking, or different viewpoints of general society and what they believe is actually actual and truthful, or is it both? Honestly, I'd love to ask him that question. Maybe you should have us on the show. We can talk about it, chop it up. Joe, give us a call. But yeah. Then also too, like I was mentioning, I did see Dwayne Johnson, The Rock, future president of the United States of America. I don't want to say he was co-signing what Joe said, but he definitely pointed out, or had to point out that Joe Rogan, whatever he said, was very articulate. And he wasn't the only one, the only person with a blue check mark to kind of co-sign or whatnot, or kind of gaslight Joe a little bit or whatever. Um, Basically giving him praise. So, like you said, there are many eyes on this, lots of responses. I saw the post again on Instagram that Joe made of the video. Again, lots of blue check marks, kind of throwing their comments in there, either good or bad. But I find it interesting. Again, when it comes to Spotify's stance, their timing of making any type of public thing about this. So I found an article on Spotify's newsroom website dated January 30th, where they're actually kind of putting out there their Spotify platform rules. Now, those rules may have been there before, but it's funny they pushed in this article on the 30th of January about this 2 weeks ish after that letter went out to uh, Spotify in particular. And or was it also Neil Young threatening to have his music removed? Which, by the way, Spotify actually obliged him on that. His music's no longer on Spotify, so they went ahead and did that. So good for them for doing that. But yeah, I just find it the weird the timing of it all. Because yeah, it was in the public eye way before Neil Young got involved. Because again, 270 health experts sent a letter to you saying, "Hey, this is what's happening. We need you guys to do something." And again, even when we said it last week, or when we talked about that, the letter wasn't saying for them to do any specific action. If nothing else, they're saying do something, say something, or even make it public about what your rules are when it comes to stuff like this. And they finally did it, or at least acknowledged it, at least as of the 30th, a couple of days ago. So, hey, they're doing something. But again, don't know if it's enough. We'll see where it goes from here. At least Joe Rogan's made a statement about it finally. Spotify's done something about it. So, we'll see what both of them do going forward. Whether or not they'll actually do anything and it's just lip service or, you know, tech service, I guess, in the case of these articles. We shall see.
Tech service instead of lip service.
Exactly.
Nice, nice. Look at
I try.
you. Look
I
at
try to be
you.
creative now that I'm getting old, so that's all right.
Yeah, yeah, man. I think anytime you're talking this type of money, and the reality is he's the most high profile Spotify
We're number
face.
2, by the way.
They definitely had some others over the last years. I definitely have. I've paid close enough attention to some of these exclusive Spotify deals that the I mean, kudos to Spotify. They they procured enough, human resource talent to have all these um shows on their roster because you know this ain't a scene. It's a goddamn arms race in the podcasting game, and yeah, you know Rogan was a good get for them, but in some ways, being exclusive on just one platform limits his reach. And so all the people that were saying, "Oh, well, you just need to kick him off," I'm like, it's like, to what end? To what end? Wouldn't it be better you at least have him under the Spotify umbrella, and you can at least keep tabs on what the fuck he's saying?
I mean, yeah, kicking him off completely, that's never going to happen because, I mean, short of Joe, using the N word live on the air, stuff like that, and things like that, he's probably, and even that, I don't know. Yeah, it's going to take a lot to get Joe kicked off of Spotify because, again, obviously Joe's making his 10 million bucks from it. So obviously Spotify's making more than that off of him. So I'm sure they're not going to be willing to get rid of all those listeners for one show off of their platform, short of him doing something stupid. And now you say, is his reach limited? I'd say probably not. I mean, 11 million per episode, that's still a pretty good reach. And how many people actually have Spotify? Lots. So, I mean, you could say it's limited, and I get that perspective because it's not on, Apple Podcast and Switcher or, whatnot, and uh, Stitcher, excuse me, or anything like.
You said switcher.
Yeah,
You turned into an old black lady from the South real quick.
yeah. He actually had me thinking about The Witcher, so that's why I combined the two. So my apologies. But yeah, so yeah, it's limited in that regard. But when you have 11 million listeners, I think your reach is pretty freaking good. That's for a one podcast. That's pretty good. I mean, we have a
Not
pretty
bad.
good following on our show, but I'll tell you right now, it ain't 11 million people. So
Pretty good. Oh man, yeah. Um, we'll be watching, keeping a watchful eye on this because this is not the last time someone's going to be like, "Hey, we don't like what you're doing on your show," and listen, this is not some rant. Listen, Neil Young, Joni Mitchell, big fucking names. Once like other exclusive Spotify talent said, "Listen, we're not putting out any more shows until y'all figure this shit out." I feel like Spotify was like, "Oh, damn, we gotta scramble." So, props to them for actually doing something, even though I don't know if they would have done it without actually some pressure being applied. So, all right, that concludes the first segment on the Spotify standoff. Coming up next, we're gonna be talking about the Rooney Rule and some revelations that are going to be coming out this week. Coming up next on Cow Park Rose.